So thank you very much everyone for their attendance. Our apologies for our late start this morning. We've had a power outage here and set us back a little bit, but thank you very much for all those in attendance. If I can ask everyone to be upstanding for our opening prayer. Almighty God, we ask that you be present at this meeting to assist us in our service to the community through local government. We pray that our decisions will be wise and taken with goodwill and clear conscience. Amen. Councillor and officer presence at the meeting. We have all councillors in attendance. We have Ms Phelps, our Chief Executive Officer, Mr Heritage, Director of Infrastructure and Environment, Mr Florence, Director of Community and Planning, and Ms Taylor, Director of Corporate and Organisational Development. Item 3, apologies and granting of leave. Do we have any? Nothing. Item 4 is disclosures of conflict of interest. Does anyone have any conflict on any matters? Item 5, confirmation of minutes from 30th of April 2025. Is there any questions or clarification on those minutes? If not, would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Tolsha.
That the minutes of the ordinary council meeting be confirmed.
From the 30th of April.
30th
Yep.
of April.
Yep. And the seconder? Councillor Pittman. All those in favour? Carried. Item 6, petition and joint letters. Nil. Public question time questions. We have some public question time questions. Yeah, I think so. Yep. Pass over to our CEO.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. The first submission we have is from Ms Debbie Montany in relation to truck parking at Lord's Hut Reserve. The first question is, around this time of the year, around the and beyond Easter school holidays, a large truck and trailer is left on Lord's Hut Reserve for approximately 14 days. My question is, why is this allowed to happen? At present, as I type, the truck can be seen in situ. I'm unsure why a private business asset is allowed to take over public land for such a length of time. If this is happening with council approval, what will stop other trucks parking there? If this is the example, if this is the example that is set, and why have council approved this? The second question is, what will council do to stop this from happening next year if they haven't approved this parking? Every year, same time-ish, 14 days. Nothing like a big truck to welcome out tourists entering Tallangatta off the bike trail is there.
So we've had a response sent to Ms Montany in regards to this issue. Do I just in brief say that the truck's parked in a parking area and doesn't need approval from council to do that, but I'll pass over to our Director of to give the response.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So a letter was sent to Ms Montany on the 5th of May in regards to this issue, confirming that it was parked in a designated parking zone and is allowed to park there under the Road Safety Road Rules 2017. So we consider it to be reasonable.
Yeah. 7.2, we had a letter from Ms Victoria Kane in regards to the cemetery and a couple of issues within the cemetery. And I'll pass over to our CEO to read through those. Yep.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. The submitter is Ms Victoria Kane. The subject is the Corryong Cemetery. The first question is, the man from Snowy River Museum has previously sent letters asking for the list of people buried in the cemetery being restored in the entrance to the museum. This correspondence started 2 years ago. When will this be completed? And the second question is, The sign to Jack Riley's grave in the cemetery faces the wrong direction. Could this be moved to the gate built to access Jack Riley's grave so that tourists are not rushing through the locals' graves going the incorrect way?
Thank you. I might call on our Director again just to give a response to that.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So, in regards to the correspondence, we weren't able to find any record of that correspondence. Notwithstanding, we are able to update the list of people buried in the cemetery at the Gatehouse, and that can be done in a short time frame. In terms of the sign to Jack Riley's grave, that is something that can also be amended and will also be considered as part of a broader master plan for the Corryong Cemetery that's being developed.
And we move to 7.3. Submitter Mr Auchinleck. Lack of response from Council CEO to my 19th of March email about Towering Hill Road. And I think I'll read this one out. It's in relation to the CEO. Please explain why the CEO or a deputy has not replied to my 19th of March email. I've only received 2 automated acknowledgements. Having to wait such a long time for an answer is unacceptable and not commensurate with normal business practices. Council response. Is that your...
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I do acknowledge that Mr Auchinleck has not received a reply to his 19 March email. Unfortunately, there's a number of other requests that are ahead of Mr Auchinleck in the queue at Council, and the staff and I have been working on other priorities, so we do commit to providing a response in due course. Thank you.
And then we had, I haven't actually got those on the agenda.
7.4, Mr Mayor.
7.4, yes.
Thank you. We did receive a further question from Ms Mary Fraser, and unfortunately, in terms of the timing of distributing the agenda and receiving the question, we're unable to include that in the agenda. So I will read the 2 questions. The topic is rates and roads. The first question is, these last few years have been difficult for farmers. By far the largest contributors to the council's rates. Sheep prices dropped 60% and cattle prices by 40% a couple of years ago, and now a very severe drought is causing people to buy expensive feed or sell stock. Both of these things will impact on this year's income and next. Will the council consider not increasing the rates the full amount and carefully scrutinise the budget for savings by postponing things that are nice to do but not essential? Council must realise that they cannot ignore the looming deficits. It's time to start tightening the belt. I would also ask the council to refuse to collect these obscene fire services levy increases the state government is charging farmers and others, and seek the support of other councils in doing so. The second question is, I have also noticed that Wisers Creek Road is listed for further works if possible. This is a subdivision developed some years ago and has the road sealed. Can the council give consideration to roads on which properties have been paying rates for more than 100 years to be considered for more work than annual maintenance? The Honeysuckle Road ratepayers who pay annually between $80,000 or $70,000 and have had no improvements other than a bridge approach for more than 40 years. There are 7 families living on this road and 5 different ratepayers plus 1 absentee. Only 1 family lives on the short sealed section plus the landowner who visits regularly. There are probably other gravel roads around the Shire who would be equally grateful for some sealing. I hope council will consider my requests.
Thank you very much. So I might even just hand to our Director of Infrastructure. You had some update on some bridge approaches.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So regarding Honeysuckle Road, there's a particular bridge on there that creates a lot of maintenance issues for us, the lead on and lead off approaches. So that is actually in our capital works program over the next 2 to 3 years. It will float to the top very soon to actually get those sealed approaches done to limit our maintenance in those areas. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. So yes, we've definitely taken on board the questions and definitely working with other local councils to look at strategies for a bit of pushback on the state with the collection of the emergency services tax, because council's very much opposed to the way that has been brought about with lack of any community consultation, and it seems to have two standards between what the state expects councils to do and how they want them to run, and then how they run themselves as two different things, and it's time they have a little bit of a look at their own backyard and the way possibly they're running things. So I thank you very much for the questions. And we'll move on to item 8, informal meeting of councillors. So the records there are from the 16th of April and 30th of April. Any questions or clarification on those? If not, would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Pittman.
Yes, I'd like to move that the information be noted.
Thanks, Councillor Pittman. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Anderson. We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Organisational improvements, 9.1, action sheet reports. Is there anything to speak to on those? Happy to take those as read. Any questions or clarification on the action sheet report? No. We have a recommendation in front of us. Would someone like to move the motion? Councillor Anderson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation be noted, the report be noted.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Pittman. Again, we'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. 9.2's quarterly budget report, and I'll call on our Director of Corporate and Organisational Development.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the purpose of this report is to present the quarterly budget update. The current surplus is quite strong. The forecast surplus to the end of the year, the end of the financial year to 30 June 2025, we'll see the deferral of some grant income to the next financial year. However, we are still forecasting a small surplus. This is against an initial budget of a $2 million deficit. We've had grant income received and disaster recovery funding received during the year that wasn't initially budgeted for, which has led to that scenario. In terms of the, I guess, the key call-outs from this, we note in the officer's view that the Emergency Services Volunteer Fund levy is slated to come into effect for the 2025-26 financial year. This will result in an additional $1.3 million collected by Council to then be paid to the State Revenue Office. This will place financial strain on rural property owners, with the flow-on effect being that we anticipate our arrears balance will increase, as we are not able to assign the payments that are made only to council rates. They have to be apportioned equally across the rates, debt and the ESVF levy. So we anticipate that will increase our rates debtors over the course of the next financial year. The recommendation is that the report be noted.
Thank you very much. Questions or clarification on that report? report, councillors. Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just to follow up on what the Director raised there about rate debtors in arrears, I think the Emergency Services Volunteer Fund will see a protest happen and people won't want to pay their rates, and I can see that ballooning out, and it's going to become a real problem for our finances.
Definitely agree. Any questions or clarification? Councillor Tolsha.
So I just want to bring up that not only is it financial, but the mental health issues that this is going to present to people on the farms with drought, with trying to find money for feed, for stock, selling stock, and chuck another tax on top, their mental health's going to suffer. And I don't know how that's going to be reported or if or how that can happen, but yeah, that's just another issue that we're going to it's going to happen.
Yep. Councillor Anderson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to clarify, every single ratepayer will have to pay a proportion towards this tax, won't they? Can you give us an idea on those, please?
Through you, Mr Mayor. So yes, there will be a different rate of levy applied depending on the classification of the ratepayer, but it will be applied to all rateable properties. So residential will face the smallest increase and the smallest charge per $1,000 of capital improved value. Commercial and industrial will face the highest rate, and primary production will have the second highest rate. So there's different rates according to the different type of property that you have, the type of property that you own. There are some rebates available up to a cap of $5 million on the capital improved value. And I mean, it is quite complicated. There is an FAQ available on it. I can't do it justice in this short time frame, but hopefully that answers your question.
Any further questions or clarification? Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just on page 3, and it's the grant income table, we've got recurrent and non-recurrent. I see recurrent is down considerably. Why would recurrent, I mean non-recurrent I can understand, but recurrent's down nearly $2 million.
Through you, Mr Mayor, there is still some, I believe there's still some financial assistance grant income that hasn't yet been received for this financial year. Otherwise, I'll have to take the rest of it on notice.
Yep.
I'm not exactly sure what makes up the entire difference,
Yep.
but I'm sure that part of it is to do with the financial assistance grant not yet being received.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions or clarification? We have the report in front of us. Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Anderson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that the report be noted.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Tolsha. Councillor Anderson, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thanks, Mr Mayor. I think we've said it all, really. Thank you.
Councillor Tolsha. Would anyone else like to speak to the motion, for or against? I'd probably just like to add that in regard to the emergency services levy, that as stated previously, be working with other rural councils to try and come up with a solution, and it disappoints me that we seem to be at an impasse with our state government where they tend not to be listening to rural councils, which is very concerning for me. I think there's a divide between the cities and rural areas, and this emergency service levy is only going to increase that divide. We want to be moving it the other way. We want to be able to bring the city and the country together more, and I think the government's missing the mark with this, and will cause a lot of problems moving forward. Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I really appreciate your comments there. I just want to touch on what Councillor Tolcher brought up about the mental stress that it's bringing. And it's not only our rural community, it's in town too. You know, every time you pick up, you listen to the news, everyone's under cost of living pressures. Doesn't matter you're in the country or in town. And it all leads to more mental pressure on people. And this fund or levy or tax, whatever you want to call it, is going to have very big implications on our communities.
Yeah, definitely. I'd probably add on to that, Councillor Wortman, that when you live in a rural community that is supported as heavily as Towing is by agriculture, it's not only the farmers that are affected by this, it's every business in every town is affected also, and none of those businesses are eligible for any possible rebates or exclusion from the fund. And I think, you know, this drought and the financial burden that farmers feel themselves in will be felt right across our shire and rural Victoria, and I just think people aren't aware of how that's going to affect people moving forward. So it's a great concern. If there's nothing further, we'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. None against. Item 10 is community and wellbeing. There are no community wellbeing reports to present at this meeting. 11's asset management, and I'll call on our Director of Infrastructure and Environment.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This report relates to cleaning of the municipal buildings throughout the Shire. The purpose of this report is to present the assessment of tenders received in relation for the cleaning of council-managed municipal amenities and seek approval to appoint the recommended contractors. A request for tender process was conducted to seek contractors for the cleaning of council's managed municipal amenities. The tender process attracted a strong interest with 14 downloads and 6 submissions. The RFTs includes amenities in the following locations: Walwa, Tintaldra, Bellbridge, Foreshore, Roy Williams Park, Bethanga Bay, Talgarno, Estale, Midda and Dartmouth. As a result of the submissions received, it is recommended that the contracts be split into 2 parts, A and B, which align with the grouping of townships as the above. The report presents the tender's results and seeks approval to appoint the recommended contractor. Just a little bit of background is that the cleaning of municipal amenities, public toilets and the public barbecues has been under contract since 2001. Council currently has a mix of council parks and gardens crews and contractors under cleaning of municipal amenities contracts that clean the public toilets and barbecues located across the Shire. Additional public toilet blocks for Roy Williams Park, Bellbridge and Talgarno Reserve are currently under construction, and these are on track and have been considered as part of this tender review. And then to the recommendation. Where have we got that? That contract number 242553 for the cleaning of municipal amenities, public toilets and barbecues be split into two parts, A and B. The contracts include an annual CPI adjustment and options for 2 additional 1-year extensions with CPI adjustments. J&C Tolanga to be awarded the contract for the lump sum of 139,317. Board of Grasshoppers be awarded contract B for the lump sum of 49,28. The use of the common seal be authorised in accordance with local laws 1, common seal and miscellaneous penalties for the purpose of signing the contract docs. The Director of Infrastructure Environment be authorised to approve contract variations up to the value of the allocated budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or clarification on that report?
Just through you, Mr Mayor, just a quick one. Natalie Butler gave us a really good rundown on this and spoke very well, and just a big tick for her, the work that she's done behind the scenes, and yeah, great job.
Thank you, Councillor.
Cool.
I'll pass it on.
Councillor Walton.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, totally agree with Councillor Tolsh's comments. Just great to see 6 submissions. I think we're getting a competitive price. And also great to see those toilet blocks at Roy Williams Park and Talgano Rec Reserve being constructed. It'll be great for our tourism and for those communities. Thank you.
Any further questions, clarification?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation as presented.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Tolsha. Councillor Anderson, would you like to speak to the motion at all?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to concur with the other councillors. Natalie's done a terrific job, and it's so important for our Shire to have good, clean amenities done regularly, improving it for our community as well as visitors. So it's very good. Terrific report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is for the purpose of the report is to present the assessment of tenders received for the town maintenance services and seek approval to appoint the recommended contractor throughout the Shire. The request for tender process was conducted to seek contractors for the provision of town maintenance services. Whilst there was strong interest in the tender process with 24 downloads of the tender documents, only the current contractors lodged submissions. This report presents the tender results and seeks approval to appoint the recommended contractors. A copy of the detailed tender assessment has been provided to councils prior to the meeting. Council, a bit of background and history. Council has a mix of contractors and council parks and gardens crews in place to perform town maintenance service activities. Works include mowing, slashing, street tree pruning, garden bed maintenance, street sign cleaning, litter, bins, parks, streets and playground infrastructure cleaning and maintenance. The current town maintenance service contractors are currently in their final 1-year extension. During this time, a review of the service level, scope and frequencies has been completed. Over the term of the current contract, there has been a significant number of capital projects delivered, resulting in increase in town maintenance services required across the Shire. With an increase in stable workforce, within Council's Parks and Gardens crew of up to 6 staff in each depot rather than the typical 2 to 4 of the past. We'll be working towards stronger integration, with works being completed by a mix of contractors and council staff across the Shire. Feedback from the current contractors, council staff and councillors and the community was considered. A real focus of improving the level of service in high-use tourism areas was identified, as well as investing in garden maintenance, renewal and watering. And as per the recommendation, that the contracts for the delivery of town maintenance services include an annual CPI increase adjustment and an option for 2 additional 1-year extensions with CPI adjustments. Total Garden Solutions be awarded contract 24-25-039 Upper Murray for town maintenance services for the lump sum of 285,750. Total Garden Solutions be awarded contract 040 Peninsula for town maintenance services for the lump sum of 390,510. Mitta Swimming Pool Committees of Management be awarded the contract 041 Mitta for the delivery of town maintenance services for the lump sum of 76,005. Dartmouth Progress Association be awarded 042 Dartmouth for the delivery of town maintenance services for the lump sum of 118,959. Estale Progress Association be awarded contract 043 Estale for the delivery of town maintenance for the lump sum of 124,944. The use of the common seal and the Director of Infrastructure and Environment be authorised to approve contract variations up to the total value of the allocated budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions or clarification, councillors?
Yeah, just a quick one through you, Mr Mayor. Total Garden Solutions, they're a business from where? Are they local? Are they Albury Wodonga?
Albury Wodonga. So,
Yeah. And another thing, I see that there was not a lot of options or tenderers, but I think Mitta, Dart, Estale, all committee of management and local identities that actually, whatever money they make, non-for-profit and goes back within the area, so I think that's really good. That's all I'm going to say.
Thanks, Councillor Tolsha. Any further questions or clarification? Councillor Pittman.
Thank you through you, Mr Mayor. Look, I agree with Councillor Tolsha's comments wholeheartedly, and I think this is a great collaboration between council and local residents to provide good services. It's money saving on our part, because we're not having people travelling great distances to maintain services in areas that can be done locally. And as Councillor Tolsha said, it puts money back into those communities that they can use to further their other activities as well. So I think this is a great initiative.
Thanks. Councillor Pittman. I've probably just got one question. We're looking at changing a little bit, and we now have a mix of contractors and council parks and gardens crews. Can you just elaborate on that a little bit for us, what that actually looks like?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I can use Walwa as an example, Mr Mayor. So in the past, it was done by our teams, and then it swung over to a contractor because we were just not getting there on a regular basis. Now we're looking at integrating the two with overlap. So the contractor has to travel already up the River Road, now our teams will head in there and assist the contractor for maintenance of gardens and things like that, which has made a substantial saving, and it buys some ownership back from our team members as well into that area and parks and gardens areas,
Yep. Thank you. Great outcome. Any further questions or clarification? We have a recommendation in front of us. Someone like to move motion? Councillor Tolsha.
Approve the town maintenance service contracts as per the recommendations in this report.
Thanks, Councillor Tolsha. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Anderson. Councillor Tolsha, would you like to speak to the motion at all?
No, I said no, thank you.
Councillor Anderson?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to say it's a really good outcome. Joint council, parks, gardens, contractors, community, got it all. So great mix, good outcome. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak to the motion? For or against? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? None against? Carried. Flood 11.3 is flood damage recovery works, and I'll call on our Director of Infrastructure and Environment.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The purpose of this report is to seek approval for re-awarding the contracts for flood damage repair works for the eastern section of the municipality to the second preferred supplied contractor, Countrywide Asphalt. This approval is being sought due to the withdrawal of the contractor council had previously resolved to award the contract to. As of March 26, 25, council meeting officers presented a report seeking approval to award contracts for flood damage rectification works following the receipt of DRFA funding approvals. Council resolved to award the eastern section priority 1 and 2 works to Extons. The contractor has subsequently advised that they are no longer able to undertake the works and accordingly have withdrawn. Council's officers have reviewed the tender evaluations from March for the eastern section and are of the view that it would be appropriate to award the contract to the second preferred contractor rather than re-tender the works. Therefore, the recommendation is that the contract 2324 040 for the flood damage repair works be awarded to Countrywide Asphalt. Contract 2324 040 for flood damage repair works to Towong Shire's eastern section priority 2 works be awarded to Countrywide Asphalt as well. The Director of Infrastructure and Environment be authorised to approve additional works due to asset deterioration that has occurred between the event and remediation works approvals, up to the total value of the approved DRFA flood grants. The Chief Executive Officer be authorised to sign and seal the contract documents in accordance with Local Law 1. The Chief Executive Officer be authorised to approve contract variations up to the total value of the allocated DRFA funding. Thank you.
Excuse me. Thank you very much. Any questions or clarification on floodworks? Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Yes, look, I fully support this. It's within the budget of the DRFA funding, and but as the Director points out, these floods happened in October 2022, and as we know, things deteriorate over that period of time, and we're just lucky that these extra works can be completed within the budget. So, no, well done.
Any further questions or clarification? Councillor Pittman.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'd just like to say I think this is an excellent way forward with this, given that the previous contractor has withdrawn. I think that by awarding it to the second preferred contractor, it expedites the finishing time of the works and also limits council's exposure to potential cost escalations by taking it back out to market.
Thanks, Councillor Pittman. Any further questions or clarification? We have a recommendation in front of us. Would someone like to move the motion? Councillor Pittman.
Yeah, I'd like to move that contracts in clause 1 and 2 be awarded as per the recommendation, and that clauses 3 to 5 be enacted as per the recommendation.
Yep, thanks councillor Pittman. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wortman. Councillor Pittman, would you like to speak to that? Any?
Nothing further, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Wortman.
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Anyone else like to speak to the motion? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. I don't know what's happening with that tickle in my throat, but it's very annoying. Item 12 is land use planning. The no land use planning reports to present this meeting. 13 is environmental sustainability. We have a forestry report. I'll call on our Director of Infrastructure and Environment.
Thank you again, Mr Mayor. The purpose of this report is to just provide information. So on the forestry report. Throughout the Shire there are significant areas of pine plantations located in state forests and on private land. Where timber harvesting operations occur on private land, Council is responsible for ensuring compliance as timber production is defined land use in Victoria planning provisions and associated planning schemes. Council has a responsibility to ensure environmental compliance relating to forestry operations occurring on private land across the Shire. Compliance works involve inspections, auditing forest operations, liaison with forestry owners and the local community. Council has received 10 timber harvesting plans since November 24. In the last period, 345 hectares of plantations have been harvested, producing an estimated 93,378 cubic metres of timber. Of this, 72,278 cubic metres of the volume is clear fall and 21,100 of the volume is thinning. The inspections below were completed as part of the Council's oversight of forestry operations, 5 inspections of harvesting operations, 10 timber harvesting plan reviews, 4 post-haulage road inspections. Major harvesting operations include those conducted by Hancock's, Victorian plantations in the Shelley Railway, Kuitong, Burrowy and Lucy Vale areas. Thank you, and the report be noted.
Any questions or clarification on the forestry report? Councillor Tolsha.
Yeah, just a quick one. Fleabane, I remember going to MITA for the community consultation, and Fleabane was an issue up there. I can't understand why it's not an issue to farms next door to plantations, that's all. Just a comment. And I don't know whether, and it says here that the trees become established, they outcompete the fleabane. I think that needs something that we probably need to look at to make sure that does happen. Otherwise, it'll be everywhere.
Thank you, and noted.
Any further questions or clarification? Councillor Wardman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd never heard of this, but this rare and threatened species and communities assessments provided by HVP. I have to compliment the person who thought up the acronym for that, RATSAC. I will remember that now. I will definitely remember that from now on.
Any further questions or clarification? We have a recommendation. Would someone like to move the motion? Councillor Anderson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation that the report be noted.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Pittman. Councillor Anderson, would you like to speak to that at all?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Pittman.
Nothing to say, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Any further? Anyone else like to speak to the motion or against? just like to, on councillor Tolsh's point, it might be worth contacting AgVic to see if we could get fleabane classed as a weed, because it is a weed and it's going to be the next weed that we really need to contend with, and it's such a fine seed that it can blow. It just goes in the wind and covers huge amounts of area. So from something that we didn't see 10 years ago to where it is now, it's something that they need to be looking at. So if we can possibly look into that in the future. There's nothing else. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. (13.2) Environmental Sustainability Report. And again, we'll call on our Director of Infrastructure and Environment.
Thank you again, Mr Mayor. This report provides a quarterly update on environmental sustainability activities throughout the Shire. Council's environmental sustainability activity continue to be focused on the management of recycling operations at resource recovery centres, along with actions related to the circular economy, waste and recycling transition process. I'll just touch on the most notable points in this report. June 2024 saw the launch of the new 3-bin system and move to a new waste collection contractor, who is Cleanaway. An ongoing education campaign around the 3-bin system continues to be promoted through Council's digital platforms, as well as exposure through the Half Waste platform, which enjoys TV promotional contents. Year-to-date performances for July-March 25 highlight organic tonnage levels, 570 tonnes from an average of 2,134 monthly serviced households. General waste tonnage levels, 699 tonnes from an average of 3,040 monthly serviced households. Recycling levels, 400 tonnes or 44.51 tonnes average PM from average 3,040 monthly serviced households. As of March 2025, the recycling contamination rates was 0.16 of a tonne or 0.37%. Trends remain constant for the contamination rates. 570 tonnes of FOGO have been collected with average contamination levels of 0.13%. Following the introduction of the 3-bin system, Tarwong Shire achieved a current diversion rate of 58.13% from landfill. To aid with new waste management during the high visitation seasons of Christmas and New Year holidays, Council provides additional public bins at key locations, increasing the frequency of collection and promotes respectful disposal behaviours for visitors, with flyers provided to caravan operators. For these peak holiday periods, additional work is still to be undertaken as Council strives to improve education. A further initiative will include new street signage, which will include a theme such as carry-in, carry-out policy that will be promoted into key camper locations and high patronage areas. Council will look to partner with other stakeholders such as DECA and Parks Vic with the intention to reduce dump waste or unnecessary waste build-ups at council-supplied bin locations. Corryong landfill status. Facilities reached a full capacity and has been closed for the public since October 23. The aftercare and environmental management plan prepared by an external consultant has been ratified by the EPA, with the contract granted to third-party contractor for the proposed remediation capital works program. These works are due to commence in May, and I can just confirm that they have commenced and are underway. Thank you, and the report be noted.
Thank you. Any questions or clarification? Councillor Pittman.
Yeah, look, I think this has been a great initiative with the 3 bins, and I note that the marked decrease in waste that's going to landfill. I do still field a lot of comments from the public about the lack of pickup of red bins, that they would like to see that increased. Maybe this is something that could lead to future discussion on that topic.
Thanks, Councillor Pittman. Councillor Tolsha.
Just a comment, nearly 60%, oh, geez, I'm getting a cramp, sorry. Nearly 60% of diversion to landfill which is part of the FOGO, I would assume, and also the recycling of the bottles and cans. That's a great outcome. The other thing was 1.6 million containers in Corian have been put through the recycling. That's unbelievable. I know there must be good drinkers up here. But apart from that, I think that's a great outcome. And I'm assuming Tallangata would be close to that as well, although we don't keep a record of that because it's done by different people. And the waste collection over Shire through the holiday period has been an issue in the future. And going forward, we need to make sure we get on top of that early. Apart from that, Greg Carlson has done a great report. A big tick. Thank you.
Any further questions or clarification? Councillor Waltman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, just following on from Councillor Tolsha, yeah, it's a terrific report and very informative. And I'd like to thank Greg.
Thanks, Councillor Waltman. Do I have someone like to move a motion? Councillor Pittman.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that the report be noted.
Thanks, Councillor Pittman. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Anderson. Councillor Pittman, would you like to speak to the motion at all?
Nothing further to add. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Anderson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just a quick one. Just to remind people that container deposit scheme is available to any groups, and you can see how much they can actually make out of collecting those cans and bottles, and so it's available, and we'd be happy to assist. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak to the motion? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Too long that. 14, there are no economic and tourism development reports to present this meeting. 15, no councillor reports. 16 is urgent business. Before we go to urgent business, I'd like to move that we take just a 5-minute recess, if we could. Do I have someone second that? Councillor Tolsha. So we'll just take a quick 5-minute recess. I'd like to have a discussion about something that we might add to urgent business. So I think the gallery Thank you. We've returned and we are now up to urgent business. And I think we have an item of urgent business. So would someone like to move that we accept an item of urgent business? Councillor Tolsha, do I have a seconder? Councillor Pittman. In relation to the emergency services levy. We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Okay, so we can now bring forward a motion. Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move a motion. Given the detrimental impact of the new levy will have on our ratepayers and our residents, we make every effort to oppose the introduction of the new levy and seek advice on not collecting the levy.
Very good. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Tolsha. Councillor Wortman, would you like to speak to that motion?
Oh, thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, throughout the meeting it's been brought up on a number of occasions, and I just can't, with the drought situation, the very dry situation we're in the farming communities, the pressure they're under buying feed in, some people are carting water, the cost pressures are enormous, and then we move to our towns, our small rural towns, and everyone's under cost of living pressures, and this levy is just going to decimate our communities, and yes, I'm very much opposed to it.
Thanks, Councillor Wortman. Councillor Tolsha.
Yeah, strongly agree with what Councillor Wortman has said. Also, it's an old saying, if the farmer's going bad, the community's going bad, because the farmer's not buying off the local people for services or buying equipment. And they're also hit harshly by this new levy, / whatever you want to call it. The small businesses where the farmers haven't got the money to spend, they haven't got the money to collect from the small businesses, but they're still getting this levy put on them, which is increased by over 100%. So yeah, it's just a really, really bad time for everybody with this levy, whether you're a farmer, whether you're a small business or just a resident.
Thanks, Councillor Tolsha. Councillor Pittman.
Yeah, I completely concur with my colleagues. My thoughts on this levy are exactly the same, and I feel it's, the timing couldn't be worse for regional Victoria. I think it's poorly thought out and it's particularly poorly timed. And I think that's something they really need to go back and reconsider about making such an escalation. Obviously, this doesn't just hurt farms, it hurts everybody, and industry especially. It's difficult enough for industries to operate in regional Victoria because of transport costs and things like that, and having this escalation in these levy fees, I think, is going to undermine the viability of some of these businesses.
Councillor Pittman. I'd also like to speak to the Councillor Anderson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to mention, which we haven't mentioned, ever since this new levy was introduced, Council's been following up, trying to get information, which has been difficult. So we've actually, just so people know, we've been actively following this ever since it was introduced, to the point where it's gone through and been passed. And of particular note, this is what people are talking about more than any other problem that we've got going at the moment. And the mental health, and that is just, it's very sad. So, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson. I'll just add one little point because I think most things are covered, and it's something that Councillor Pittman probably touched on. It just seems like it's policy on the run. We don't have all the facts yet of how it's going to look and what it's going to, how it's exactly going to affect everyone. And I think, that's just not good enough when you're passing stuff in Parliament and then you're still making up the guidelines after that. It's not okay. And I think this has got a lot more to play out in the coming months. So thank you. If there's no further comment, We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Item 17, committee minutes. 17.1 is OH&S committee meeting minutes. I'll call on our Director of Corporate and Organisational Development.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The purpose of this report is to present the minutes to the OH&S committee meeting. The minutes themselves are confidential due to the nature of the contents of those minutes. The recommendation is that the unconfirmed minutes from the meeting held on the 29th of April 2025 be noted.
On the report.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. I see there's been about 35 incidents reported for the month, which is really good. It means people are taking OH&S serious by seeing a near miss, reporting it, and we can actually make things better. And it's great to see that 25 of those incidents are closed out. Yeah, good work.
A fine line, that one. Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I would like to move that the unconfirmed report be noted. The unconfirmed minutes be noted, sorry.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Tolsha. Would you like to speak to that at all?
No, I don't have anything further to say, thank you.
Anyone else like to speak to the motion? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. 17.2 Audit and Risk Committee minutes from May 2025, and I'll call on our Director of Corporate and Organisational Development.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the purpose of this report is to provide the minutes from the most recent Audit and Risk Committee meeting, the resolutions made by the committee, other than those for noting, is included in the report regarding changes to the Audit and Risk Committee charter that will be brought to Council within the next meeting. The recommendation is that the unconfirmed meeting minutes and resolutions from the meeting be noted.
Thank you very much. Any questions or clarification? Would someone like to move a motion on the Audit and Risk Committee minutes? Councillor Tolsha.
That the unconfirmed Audit and Risk Committee minutes and resolutions from the 15th of May 2025 meeting be noted.
Thanks, Councillor Tolsha. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Anderson. Councillor Tolsha, would you like to speak to that at all?
Only that it's great to see that we are actually going to see the charter and any changes to be circulated amongst us for comments, which is good.
Councillor Anderson. Anyone else like to speak to the motion? I'd just like to add that I've met with the Audit Committee Chair, and she commented that she's very happy with progress that the OH&S team and is making in regards to all the risk management stuff that's been a challenge for us, and you know, there's some great progress being made in that area, and you know, I think that's, I'm sure for some of the staff, but also for me, it allows me to sleep easier at night knowing that we've got people in that space doing some great stuff. So just pass that on. If there's nothing further, we'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Council policies, no policies for review or adoption. 19, sealing of documents, nil. 20 is confidential, and 21's close of meeting. So thank you very much everyone for their attendance, and we'll call the meeting to a close.